All right, guys, I'll try and keep out of politics, but it just drags me back in. I was listening to something this morning um, because the weird thing in the UK is when you have some specific viewpoints, it's suddenly that you're far right, you've got identarism, is the extreme end because it's pushed from a left agenda through left mentality and ideology. And their ideologies, they're not facts. This is why they're confused on, like Starmer's U-turn on immigration. Now, I don't trust Starmer as far as I could throw him. I don't think he's going to come through with anything, let's face it. But don't confuse identity with identitarianism. I know it's a long word. It comes from the French word identitaire. It's a political ideology that emphasizes preserving national, cultural, and ethnic identity. See, the reason I'm saying don't get confused on these when people say it, it's not the same as identity, right? Because part of these are the cores, ethnopluralism, the belief that different cultures should live separately to preserve their uniqueness, rejecting multiculturalism. I haven't heard anybody talk about, I don't know, whitewashing anywhere. What they're actually talking about is the illegal immigration's out of control, and their communities are being destroyed. The crime rates are going up, serious crime. You get the defense mechanism of, oh, well, more crimes committed by white Brits. Well, funny enough, when I've been to India, it's mainly committed by Indians. Is it to do with the population numbers? But when you look at the percentages based on the types of crime and the numbers of people on the percentage, how many crimes are committed by this type, people from X, the scale suddenly swiftly goes the complete other way. And it's predominantly certain areas that are serious crime. They keep trying to push you into these boxes because, let's face it, most Brits just want to get on with life. Life's crap enough as it is for most people in the UK. But it's got worse and worse because not only can most Brits not afford a house these days, they want to get us to pay for other people to have a house for free. People that are coming and going, well, you give us everything for free. We're idiots. Well, sorry, we're ruled by idiots, but it used to be an old saying, isn't it? Lions ruled by sheep. I think that's it, because that was seen as the British Army, where they understood that we're run by idiots. But the resilience and ability of the British Army was the fact is they knew they were run by idiots. So they're pretty good at surviving on their own because they knew, do not trust these clowns. But the point being is, it's got bigger and bigger, and the problems got bigger and bigger. So identitarianism is not the same as identity. Identity in the preservation of your identity is, we do not have British values. They didn't exist. They were not accepted by the British as a majority. They were not taken on a consensus. They were not something that was part of being British. It's something that appeared during the 90s, I believe. Would that be around the Blairs, I wonder? Hmm. Opposition to mass immigration, especially from non-European countries. See, there you go. Mass immigration. Mass, which is en masse. No country on this planet, I think, agrees with mass immigration, for a local population, because it distorts the communities, the environment, and everything else. It has no benefit to the nation or the people, because this is how you end up with large communities and clusters that did not integrate. That's reality. It's not. Yeah, I mean, I look at my time in the Philippines. I integrated into the Philippines. I didn't go there to run for government. I didn't go there to change. the laws to suit myself. I didn't go there to change the religion. I didn't go there to commit crimes. And bizarrely, the Philippines, like many, many, many countries out there, they often have people that will cite racism when it relates to white people, have much legislation preventing you from running for government, having jobs that are deemed protected classes, setting up companies that are protected classes, limit what you're accessible to. Maybe it's to do with the immigration. It's got a fixed process and lots of fees. Maybe it's the reality that you can't hold a government job in the police, even local council. Never mind run for being a prime minister, etc. Maybe it's the fact that you shouldn't be a burden of state. A basic one. Burden of state. Which basically means a burden of the taxpayer. These are things all other countries, well, the majority of other countries seem to have built into their legislation, especially countries where a lot of these people are coming from and expect free handouts. Don't get me wrong, I fully understand somebody wants a better life, etc. But I want a better life, but I have this thing called work. I have this thing called private healthcare. I have this thing called a moral compass, ethics, responsibilities, integrity. These are all traits of why, I'm going to say this is going to upset a few people, as a white person, that are cornerstones of society. A lot of failures out there is because people want a handout. They've lived that way their entire life. And one of my fundamental problems with the system at the moment is I fully understand there are scroungers and scum within the British society. But it doesn't mean we need everyone else's. That's it. So here we go. So key groups, generation identity in France is now banned. So they've actually banned generation identity in France. How weird is that? So they've tried to, there's offshoots across Europe and lesser degrees in the US. Now you start to see why they start to brand thing is identitarianism. Because what they try and do is go, this is what that is, and we are calling you that, when actually you're looking at the preservation of your wealth, your community, your identity. And further down the list, you're looking at controlled immigration. Controlled immigration, not ethnic cleansing, which is the sort of viewpoint these people are trying to push. It's weird how we go from one thing to another, but the problem you've got is a lot of the people that are pushing these ideologies you can't speak to because their education has been saturated with nonsense and political leftist viewpoints for so long that they are ignorant to reality. They're not interested in being wrong. You doing your job wrong for 20 years and somebody comes in and tells you that you've been doing it wrong, do you take it on board really well? No. And this is what you got. It's frustrating, and like I said, the reason I brought this up today is because from my viewpoint, we're British. And British means I've got a sense of identity to the nation. I've got a history. My history is, as I've said, Irish, Scottish, a little hint of Denmark. Those are my historical roots, my ancestral roots, and it's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in Africa. I'm not interested in Zimbabwe. I'm not interested in the conflict in Palestine and between Palestine and Israel. I'm interested in my history. stuff that's been written out of schools for a long time. And then they're sitting there wondering why people are disconnected. They're sitting there as if like, well, you're being unreasonable. I was lucky because I went into military schools, so we still had a sense of identity. We still had pictures of the Queen when I was at school, because obviously she's not around now. The pictures of the Queen were in the schools. We had assemblies where you'd have morning prayers. You'd have a structured approach where you'd have fables probably once or twice a week with the assemblies. They would give you moral stories. You had guidance through a structured education system. What we're seeing at the moment is it seems like the education system has been so ideologically manipulated, they're actually moving too far away from actual education. So I see a lot of people that seem a lot dumber than they should be. And I don't think it's because they're stupid. I think it's because they've never learned. So if you look at mathematics and how that's been dumbed down, I've seen it with my son where they had this box system. There's some videos. I was trying to do it. I did some tutorials for some parents as well because it was stupid and it goes against the grain. I mean, I work mainly in numbers. So when you have some system that's designed for village idiots and it was written by somebody that wasn't good for maths and they made it part of the syllabus, that's all you need to know. But the point being is it's not practical. You have these boxes that you put the numbers in, right? I'm working in a restaurant. I'm at a table. So instead of counting, I need to draw boxes. Oh, I'm not a waiter in the restaurant. I waste too much paper and time doing stupid maths. Maths is boring, but the fundamental of it is repeat, 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 repeat. That's it. It's boring, tedious. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, and eventually it just goes like that. It's like the times table. Eventually, you just know what it is because you've done it a million times because you were forced to do it a million times. The same with reading, writing. It's repetitive by nature, but they are not focused on this stuff. Yet it's the fundamentals. Read, write, maths. Everything else is built off that. They moved away from it. What are we doing to ourselves as a nation? But anyway, I'm slightly off tangent. The point being is our identity. We have our history. We have our beliefs. We have our freedoms of choice, the freedom of discussion, debate. See, debate, discussion. Don't hear much of that these days. What you've got is things like me on this video where I'm talking from one side because a lot of people do not engage in a debate. That's been done on purpose because they can divide things. They can divide through, through the algorithms and whatever to separate what you want to hear until it's what they don't want you to hear, which is where people start dropping off the graph. The reality is, though, there is nothing stopping you preserving your history, your society, your nature, your abilities, your fundamentals. Oh my God, I want to say something really weird here. As a human being. Because the human rights law is one of the biggest reasons we have so much of abuse of the borders. Because the false narratives on this asylum seeking, it's everybody knows these people, the majority are not asylum seekers, but the legislation is protecting them as if they were the result of the end of World War II, where people realised what happened to the Jews and the legislation that was brought in to protect vulnerable people, etc. And that's what's tied this to that mast, and very hard to undo, because I look at it from the bigger perspective. People, for me, it's like me getting a wheelchair and pretend to be disabled. I just wouldn't do it. I look at the fact that the system was designed to protect people, not for these people that are just abusing it. As far as I'm concerned, they're scum of the earth. Unless they're genuine, they're scum of the earth. They're stealing from vulnerable people. That's how we should be portraying that. They're thieves. That's it. As simple as that. It's not being racist. It's not being prejudiced. It's not whatever. It's if they are not genuine, they're a thief. They're a fraud. They're abusing laws and rules that were there to protect others, to exploit for their personal gain. They have no right to be here. So, as I said, identitarianism focuses on trying to make it that you become a racist and you want to completely change the UK, while they're sitting changing the UK without any consultation, without the reality that it's not legal, without the reality of the legislation that often states that they're, I think it's the first safe country as an asylum seeker they enter. They don't have a right of passage right across Europe. Reality. Anyway, just want to say that, guys, because for me, you should preserve your identity. You should look at your own values, not the values they're telling you. The values they're telling you, they're just made up garbage by these socialists. And they're false socialists, because the socialists should be looking after their own country, not globalists. It's peculiar, because they have no attachment to anything. That's what's sick about it. Anyway, thanks for watching.